Yeah, thank you for having me here. Maybe you could introduce to everyone who you are and where we are.
Okay, my name is spiritual name is Krishna Darshan, and I run here a small ashram, a retreat center in Uruguay. It's we are like about 40 minutes from Punta del Este, 20 minutes from San Carlos. So we have a retreat place where people come from all over the world to take more in-depth studies in yoga and meditation, spirituality, healing, Ayurveda, and so. And so we are in the middle of the countryside, middle of the nature, very silent, as you can,
Yeah,
as
it's
you know.
amazing
Yeah.
acoustics here. Like,
So we try to create an ideal place for people who want to really be going deep within, to really tune to themselves, to clean their mind from all the noise of the city and the activities, and have a little break to really tune it. And that's the environment is.
and I can attest that that is exactly what's here. Like, it's incredibly quiet and peaceful, and it's somewhat rustic, but it's also just so grounding and very peaceful. And so we talked about a couple things, or you talked about a couple things. One of the things, the topics we discussed was happiness.
Mhm.
So everyone's kind of looking for this idea of happiness. And can you talk a little bit about that?
That's definitely a big topic. Everybody wants to be happy, right? The thing is, where is that happiness that we are looking for? Usually, you see, most people, we think that in order to be happy, we need to get something that we don't have. Either some material possession, or some person, or living in some place. We always see something that we need to do out there, that if we succeed, is going to bring us happiness. But first of all, sometimes you don't succeed. There might be obstacles where you cannot fulfill your desire. And then sometimes, even if you fulfill your desire, you are happy, but only for a short period. But then again, you feel like you're missing something. Then you have a new desire, you want something else. And like that, we spend our whole life. Now, the ancient yogis and sages, and not only from yoga, but even from many different religions and traditions of wisdom, they explain that happiness is our real nature. Happiness is the natural state of the self. We don't need anything in order to be happy. But why are we not happy? If we are that happiness, why are we not happy? The big problem is our mind. The mind is so in the habit of going outwards, projecting itself to external achievements, that it has completely lost the connection to the inner silence, to the what we call the Atman, or the real self. So we have a kind of artificial sense of self, more we can say our ego. Say, I am Mr. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so, I am from this country, from so I am male or female, or I'm tall, or I'm short, or strong, weak. But those are not really the characteristics of what we really are. So this ancient yogi says, you are that happiness, you are that pure consciousness. And what we need to do to experience it is just bring the mind into a state of quietness. Stop all this craziness of the mind. Shut up the mind a little bit and just be in yourself. So, it sounds easy, but it's not so easy, because the mind is into a habit, such a long habit, an old habit, that even if you want to sit and meditate, the mind keeps going. So we need to train this mind gradually. And then yoga offers many tools for that. Beginning from the more physical level, we train our body to be more relaxed, to release tensions, to be able to stay quiet. So by removing physical tensions, already the mind starts to feel better. Then we have breathing exercises, which helps to bring the mind even to a deeper calm. And that it really prepares us for a state of meditation. Then there are many different tools like mantras, there's chanting of mantras. Yoga has a variety of tools to offer that might be suitable for different personalities or different likes. We have more devotional practices, more philosophical practices, more physical practices, and they're all complementary to each other. And what they do is they prepare the mind for the state of meditation. Then when you go to meditate, the mind is already relaxed, calm, and then you can concentrate. And then when you are fully focused, you experience your true self. And at that time, that's when we feel, oh, I am complete. Now I don't need anything. I found what I wanted. I don't need to go anywhere. I don't need to get anywhere. I'm just myself, and I feel full. And that's the search. Of course, it's a lifetime journey, right? But we are getting more and more into it.
Yeah, it's been just being here the few days that I have been. It's been I can get into a way deeper state of meditation and a deeper state of consciousness so much faster. And just this environment being so quiet and peaceful, I think it really adds to that. Krishna, what like if you were, by the way, Krishna used to get in the ocean. In fact, he still does. He's a body surfer and a bodyboarder.
Well, mostly when I was very young, but I still liked it.
When he was young, like last week.
I definitely love the ocean, yeah.
So I thought that was kind of neat. Pull that out of him. But if you're, what would you say to a young Krishna? What would you say to yourself, young? Like what advice can you give to someone younger?
What I remember when I was a teenager, I had a lot of energy and a lot of desires to explore life, but I wasted a lot of my prana, a lot of my life force in just doing very intense worldly activities. And then, I found myself at one moment, when I was about 20, so 21, I found my health was not good, my mind was disturbed, because, when I was a teenager or so, I used to, like most people, going out at night, drinking, smoking, everything else. And this warms out all your life force. When you are young, you have so much that you don't realize that you are, depleting it. And then there is a moment where you realize, okay, all these things that I did, okay, they brought me some experience, but not the self-realization. I learned from that environment, but not enough of it. Now something else is missing. And then, you realize that you wasted so much of your life force in all this, experimenting with different areas of life. That then, I would say, well, I should have been more careful with what I ate, with how I treated my body and my mind, and then it would be easier for me now. But we learn by experience. It's like you tell a kid, don't do this, don't put your finger on the outlet, and then the more you say, the more he wants to put the finger on the outlet, right? Until he doesn't get the shock, he doesn't know. So sometimes you need to get the shock, and then you awake, So life is a little bit like that. But of course, if we could hear to the advice, good advice. I remember I got good advices, but I didn't hear them when I was very young. So I had to crush myself many times until I started to hear the advice of wise people, experienced people. And then that's when I started to progress.
There seems to be kind of some confusion right now in this space in like it's almost like a fashion. You know, there's big brands built around like yoga. Help me understand like your perspective on everything.
Well, in one hand, we can say it is good that yoga has spread so much around the world. Everywhere in the world now, there is some people teaching yoga and people practicing yoga. I remember when I started, that was about 40 years ago, it was quite unknown. Like we used to teach yoga and you see people, it was completely new. And then those who practiced were very few. In some countries, there was nothing there. Now it's the opposite. Yoga is mainstream. Everywhere people know something about yoga. But, and this is good, but the price for that is that yoga got very diluted and slowly became transformed into something more commercial, and it lost a lot of its authenticity, its original practice. Like, for example, nowadays yoga is seen mostly as a form of physical exercise. Most yoga studios or so, they just give you some stretching, some workout, which is nothing bad about it. Doing workout is good and physical exercise is good, but yoga has a different purpose. The purpose of yoga is not a workout, it's a work-in. It's really to take you inwards to your soul, to your self, to your inner silence. And for that, the practice is different. It's more about finding the right balance between the effort and the relaxation. There's a lot of working with the breath, especially with the mind, how to concentrate during the exercises. And there is a lot of spiritual, philosophical wisdom that goes together with it, that we need to understand. So yoga is not just a physical form of exercise, but it's more like a way of living. It's more like a philosophy, like an aim, something that you really want to progress in your life, that you want to develop in your life, which includes all areas of life. Includes your health, of course, your physical body, but also, even in your relationships, even in your work, how you dedicate. For example, we've mostly been educated to work for earning our money. So we work just to see how much we can make. The more we make, more good we feel about it in the beginning. But yoga teaches, for example, a different philosophy. It says, take your work as a service to the world. Whatever you do, either you are not only a yoga teacher, but whatever, an accountant, an office worker, a cleaner, a cook, whatever it is, do your work with a sense of love that you are helping someone with your work. Even if you are an administrator, you're contributing to the society. And then enjoy your work as a form of service, as a form of like an offering. And then your work becomes yoga. We call it karma yoga. You see? It's the yoga in action. And then, because you see, one topic that is very important is the topic of stress. There's a lot of stress in modern life. People look for yoga. Yoga is definitely helpful. Stretching, releasing the tensions, breathing helps us a lot to overcome stress. But where does the stress really come from? It comes from our anxiety for the results of our actions. We want things, and then we do actions to accomplish, to fulfill our desires. And if our desires are not fulfilled, we get very angry and very frustrated. And then, then the problem is I want something, but you also want, she also wants it. Then we have to compete with each other, right? Then I start, cutting your ground, you start cutting my ground, and competition, and then that's the world of today, right? Everybody's struggling to get their piece of cake, right? And so then is really the source of stress. This so much expectation for the fruit of our action. That's how the yogis describe it. So the philosophy of yoga teaches you, don't worry. There is something called the law of karma that we strongly believe on. It means when you do good things to others, good things come back to you sooner or later. Sometimes immediately, sometimes many years later. You never know. But your actions and your thoughts are like a boomerang. Whenever you help somebody, whenever you give love to somebody, whenever you teach something, then that the universe will bring it back to you and amplify it actually. You give 1, you get 10, something like that. You know? And so the yogis say, it's not that I need to concentrate so much of what I'm going to get from this, but let's concentrate of how much good I can give, how much I can help others, how much love I can spread. Then we know this is going to come back to us sometime. There's nothing to worry about. We're going to have our food, we're going to have our shelter, we're going to pay our bills, because that's the law of the universe. No? So it changes the whole lifestyle of a person. And this is kind of being forgotten in the modern yoga. That was a very important part of traditional yoga. And also in the traditional yoga, all the practices like the yoga asanas, you know, the physical postures and the breathing exercises and so were done as preparations for meditation. The real, you can say, deep practice of yoga is meditation. Nowadays, people believe, okay, there is yoga and there is meditation. But meditation is yoga, see? And all the other tools of yoga are just to help you to meditate. Why? Because when you meditate means when you silence this turbulent mind, you experience your true self. See, when there is no noise, you hear the silence. For example, if we speak, we don't hear the bird, but if we make silence, here he is speaking, you see? But we don't realize we need to make silence to realize that the bird is speaking. So like that, our soul, our happiness is there. But there's so much noise in our mind that when we silence that noise, we experience what's already there. See? And this is what happened during meditation. We get to make a silence with the mind and experience the reality of our being. So all the other practices are just tools or like steps, like a ladder, you know. You cannot go straight to the roof. You need to go step by step. So very difficult to just enter deep meditation from nothing. So you have to prepare yourself physically, energetically, emotionally, and so. And then when you are ready, meditation comes. It's like we say, you cannot even teach meditation. It's like trying to teach somebody how to sleep. You know, somebody asks you, how do you fall asleep? What can you say? You can say how to get the conditions for sleep. Okay, go to a nice bed, get a nice cushion, turn off the light, make a nice temperature, and then, you know, a moment you fall asleep. Right? But maybe you have all conditions that you still don't fall asleep. No? So meditation also, we create all the conditions. And when the conditions are right, then the mind is ready, then we enter into that state. That you were saying that you were experiencing the days you were here. That how all this practice suddenly brings you to these moments of deep silence where you can experience something new, something deeper. And this is really the goal of yoga, and it's missing a lot nowadays in modern yoga, which is mostly a form of physical exercise.
So that was the original intention, was for the quieting of the mind.
Yes.
Yeah. Great.
Because you see, body, the breath, and the mind are very interconnected, interaffected. When our body is tense, our energy, our prana, is blocked. And if the prana is blocked, the mind is in a state of stress and tension. So when we release the tension from the body, then the prana, the life force, can flow. Then when the life force flows, that energizes the mind, cleans the mind, and then you can concentrate and meditate. That's the process. But you know, you like surfing, for example, right? In the ocean, why we like the ocean so much? Because it's full of prana. You know, the waves, they get very charged with prana.
Explain prana
Yeah.
to me.
Prana is translated as life force. This is what brings life to everything. Everything that is alive and everything that has some beauty, that has some power, has prana. For example, what's the difference between an artificial flower and a natural flower? You know, it might look the same, but one is plastic, the other has prana. See? So which one would you choose? So, would you choose doing surf in the ocean or in a swimming pool, artificial swimming pool of chlorine and all that? Yeah? So, prana is more abundant where there is motion of water. Whenever there are waves and rivers, also cascades, they get very charged with prana there. Also in the mountains, in the hills, and also in the nature, because the trees, the plants, they also have a lot of prana. So sometimes you just sit under a tree like we are now, you just relax for some time, you get some life back. And so is when you go to the ocean. You know, you are in the ocean there, but suppose you go to the ocean but you don't relax. Suppose you're angry because you didn't win the competition or you didn't catch the right wave or whatever reason, no? Then you cannot really take that prana because you need to be relaxed in order to this prana to flow to you and through you. So when you are in the water and you relax and you let it happen, then it just fills you with prana. That's why people like it. See? That's why we feel attracted to the ocean.
Yourself included.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. So there's two things, the topic of the ego, no? So what happened with the ego? The ego makes us believe that we are a separate individual. This is me and this is the rest. Me, you are different than me. The nature is different than me. The sun is different than me. But in fact, we are all one. We are all connected. See, there is one cosmic being, you can call it, that we are all part of. It's like we are the different cells of the different body. There's just one organism, one body, right? So everything is connected. But is this the ego that disconnects us? That we feel we isolate ourselves. And we want to take things for me. I want my will to be done. I want the best part. But when we understand that we are one, that you allow it to happen, when you surrender, then it's not that you need to be taking all the time, but you become like things come to you and go from you to the rest of the universe, and it's just the prana flows, all the wealth of the life, you know, it's just flowing. So when we put our ego aside, then everything flows naturally. But the ego is really a big obstacle. Of course, we need a certain amount of ego to function in this world, like a personality. It doesn't mean that you need to have a weak personality or something like that. No, you need to have a personality to function as a healthy individual, let's say. But you have to be conscious that that we are one, and you don't identify with this personality, with this individuality. And the more you meditate on that, the more the bliss flows. Because the ego is a big obstacle between us and the bliss. And then, of course, the other part of your question, in life there are always some problems. Nobody can avoid some problems. There is always things are never perfect all the time. It cannot happen in that. It might be perfect for a little time and then something happens. First of all, we are all aging, and then we can at certain age. You have about my age, I think, so we start to feel the changes, no? So you know that this is natural. But, and then there is people around us that have problems. Maybe your family, relationship, children. And this, of course, creates some amount of stress in our life. And sometimes all kind of obstacles can happen. But then we cannot avoid it completely. But then we need to be like surfers. Because what does a surfer do? There are waves in the ocean, currents, but he goes on his board on the waves, right? So if the wave goes up, he goes up. If the waves go down, he goes down. He's not resisting or fighting against the wave. He's dealing with the wave and flowing it, right? So we need to be surfers in all aspects of our life, not just in the waves, but those waves of life, like the ups and downs of life, the different currents of life. Problems happen, things come all of a sudden without us expecting it. Then we need to be like the surfer, okay? Just understand it, do the best you can, but don't let yourself get drowned in that wave, right? You don't want the wave to get you drowned. You want to remain in the surface and flow with it. So like that, there is life. We need to surf life.
That's awesome. How good is that?
So that's a good example for
Yeah.
surfers.
That's interesting. That's Tom Mori's motto as well. Oh wow, that's really good. How do you find living in you live in a very basic but very rich in a lot of ways environment. You grow basically all your own food here, and how does that process work for you?
Well, it's not always easy because it's a lot of work. It requires a lot of work. We work a lot, but it was a choice at certain point in life where I said I didn't feel satisfied in the world of business and city and running, and I wanted to go and live in the nature and dedicate. I was already teaching yoga, but I said I want to just dedicate to that and live in nature. But of course, a lot of work was required. First to build this place, to plant all the trees, and many years of hard work. But it is also very rewarding because, first of all, when I wake up and I feel I'm in the middle of the nature, I feel like I'm so blessed,